are finally ready to go. It is going to be Bales versus ShaDoWn, a PvP between the underdogs of France and USA. Let's go into that in-game screen. First map will be Frost, second map will be King Sejong, and the third map is to be determined because honestly I don't want to figure out the vetoes and what's left over. I mean, I don't know. And that's what I'm sticking with. Here we are. The potential last match of the day. In the top left, fighting for the USA. It was down 1 overall in this best of 5, but a fresh new best of 3. It is the red Protoss, Bales. In the top right, as the teal Protoss, he is ShaDoWn for France. And if he wins this best of 3, then underdogs France wins the entire show match. GG to them, congrats, whatnot. But hey, Bales has something to say about that, alright? And then if it does go to the final match, the final match is not another best of 3, but a best of 1, as far as I understand it. So that'll be quite dramatic, I think. I think it's also predetermined. I could be wrong. They might also just be like, hey, you did a pretty good job. Maybe you should come back out. I'm not sure. But this was just to put on a showcasing of the up-and-coming talent from both regions. So while some of these guys are actually fairly recognizable, like Xenocider, for instance, you know, it really depends, I guess, on what region you're focusing on, and who you like to watch, I suppose. So you might know about Bales, but do you know exactly his playstyle? Do you know a lot about ShaDoWn, or do you just know that he, you know, you thought he was French and now you know, okay, yeah, he is, right? Like, for a lot of people, I think these two names are certainly recognizable, especially if you are common to BaseTradeTV, as we had definitely cast both of these guys before. ShaDoWn's been in a couple of our online qualifiers and has had, you know, his ups and downs, his good matches and his bad. But for instance, the last guy I just saw, Uzi Cody, did not know much at all about, and even for me, Denver, the only reason I really remember his name is because Rifkin always talks about Denver the Last Dinosaur. So, all learning about new up-and-comers of each regions, and just having a good time casting some StarCraft, watching some StarCraft, never a bad thing. Thank you to Bacco SC2 for the 2-month resub. Thanks for coming back. It is a PvP, which is nice. Haven't seen PvP in a while, it feels like. Oh, thanks to Blasty101 for the 19-month resub. Hot damn. It's a long time. But here's the Nexus coming out for ShaDoWn, Bales, of course. I mean, they both go for these two gateway openers. But what's really interesting is, you know, if you want to learn more about PvP, I'm actually not the person to talk to. I don't really play Protoss all that often. And unfortunately, PvP is still, I think, one of the least played matchups on BaseTradeTV at the very least, and maybe even in general. I don't know. I'd have to actually look at the, like, you know, statistics about ladder for that, but I think other pro gamers have confirmed a lack of practice in it because of the ladder. But anyway, recently Artosis made a post about the new way to expand, especially on specific maps with longer rush distances than others. And how it's just, you know, the time the meta changes, it changes really slight too in mirror matchups. So for PvP, it can be just as slight as how long to take an Adept to shade across the map, and can I fit in a Nexus before I fit in the defensive Stalkers? And the answer was for ShaDoWn, yeah, he could. He fit in enough Stalkers to be able to defend and not have to worry about losing too many probes to it, and got this Nexus a little bit quicker, and is now up 4 probes, and has consistent double probe production much quicker than Bales. Thanks to Venjik for the 13-month resub. If you want to learn more, I guess, about the specifics about that, definitely look for SC Dojo or Artosis wrote a whole... You nerded out about it, basically. But it was a fun read. Anywho, while the openers differ slightly, generally things can be made up in the mid or late game. Not so much to do with Splash in PvP until Disruptors come out, and they could come out eventually. But more to do about micro, I would say. You know, who has the better force field that pushes a Stalker in front and then he grabs it. Or alternatively, sometimes you do see more passive PvPs, especially depending on what region we're casting. And sometimes it's like, okay, you got your second Nexus much faster, but, you know, our thirds came down at around the same time, and it's actually not that big of a deal. Because time is the equalizer of all things. That's a saying, right? Or something? I'm smart. My mom tells me that anyway. Yeah, it's a lot of gateways, though, from ShaDoWn. Maybe not a third? Bales, of course, getting that Robo. And they're both getting Blink. Warp Prism is on the way now, and the Hallucinated Phoenix, we'll see the Robo moving and grooving. Doesn't quite know what's coming out of it. It's just Immortal Production or Warp Prism. Now, Warp Prisms are so good. They're really... There's no reason not to make them at some point in time in any matchup. Like, it's all good. And especially when it's horizontal spawns, it's really only one, you know, mostly. One way you're going to expect the Warp Prism, so I'm surprised Bale isn't throwing down a pylon over here just to have the scouting a little bit earlier for that. But the Warp Prism could be used to distract and harass. It could also just be used to straight up reinforce a push from ShaDoWn. It is going to be 6 gateways versus just 3 right now, as he did have a bit of a gateway burst, and the blink is going to be finished up for both players. ShaDoWn will have that greater reinforcement line. He had a bit of a boost in the economy as well earlier. Not using graphs. Feels bad. But can Bales hold on? He has a couple of force fields that could be useful. Blink isn't quite done. Neither of them know that for each other, though, which is kind of funny. But it will finish up around the same time. The Mortal is about to pop out for Bales as well. And ShaDoWn could use that Warp Prism for, high ground vision, but also to warp in a couple of Adepts, maybe, later on. Oh no, he's an Observer. Missed it. Either way, I was going to say, I don't know about warping or jumping to the main, to be honest, because there is such a, you know, even army supply. There's a big army for Bales, too, and now he has an Immortal. That was always going to be a scary blink up for ShaDoWn. He does it again. The Warp Prism could try and warp in a Sentry. Not going to happen. And the Force Field try and come down. Deals with the Adepts pretty easily, and this really wasn't a lot of damage from ShaDoWn, but it did apply a lot of pressure. I can get that third base nice and quick, much quicker than Bales, and further extends that economic lead. And we'll have much faster saturation on that third base, of course, as well. I like ShaDoWn's control over this game, you know, and Bales, well, Bales has this really, like, decently sized army. In fact, a little bit ahead of ShaDoWn right now. ShaDoWn goes back into researching the Twilight Council, going back into Adepts, it seems. Well, is Bale just going to play this, like, slow, drawn-out comeback time, or, yeah, is he going to try and use this army to do something, to say something about that much quicker third base? I think if you have the opportunity to do both, that's great, and he does throw down this third Nexus. It is so far behind, though, he really wants to apply some pressure here. The Immortals are going to help out great against the Blink Stalkers, but that's where the Warping of Adept is going to try and help out. Take a lot of those shots of the Immortals, or get on top of the Immortals. Either way, help those Blink Stalkers. And a couple of force fields, I guess, for each of them does mean that things could go south quickly, but probably not. They're both pretty damn good, and while ShaDoWn is taking, I think, more control over the game, the numbers really aren't reflecting, like, one person is clearly better than the other, right? The Patents, thank you for the 3-month resub. That blink, though. Didn't mean to highlight that. Templar Archives are already on the way, and Resonant Glaives too, but far behind ShaDoWn's. Adepts are already warped in here, and the Warp Prism over here maybe can try and kind of get a little bit of a surround kind of thing going on. Actually, he might just try and shade into the third base. Yeah, I think that's what he's gonna try and do. Not with those Adepts, though. Okay, cancels those Adepts. Transfers these Adepts, and that makes a lot more sense than what I thought, which is what he's going to try and shade into the natural. Decides not to go for it. Highland goes down. Force Field's going down to, oh my god, everywhere. I'm not even sure who's this really helping. Seems to be helping Bales a little bit more, actually, as he's the one that cuts off a couple of units. Accidentally traps his own units, though. Just moving them and AI derping. He does still have these Immortals that, if they focus fire especially, they chunk away for those Stalkers, but the Adepts complicate the issue. Adepts warped in to deal with Adepts. Adepts and Pylons to deal with Adepts in the main base. And ShaDoWn really isn't getting, I think, what he really would like, which is just like, oh my god, he killed 20 probes because Bales wasn't paying attention. No, Bales is paying attention and has cleaned this up with only 3 probes lost for it. So Bale's even out. Oh my god, Bale's took out so much of the army, actually, and ShaDoWn, you know, kind of wasted so much of his reinforcements doing what was trying to kill 20 probes that he might not be able to defend against this attack. Bale's is a huge supply lead. I guess it gets a little bit closer with another warp in from ShaDoWn, but still, it's like, seriously, this is actually a little bit scary. And ShaDoWn feels the pressure too. Bale's, he's not really all in here. He has his third base, he's getting his gas, because he just has a straight up bigger army. And ShaDoWn, he can do much against this. The Immortals actually get on top of the Stalkers too, as the Adepts were on the front lines, so they're just chunking away. Bale's Adepts a little awkward are also in the back lines, not the front, so that's kind of weird. And Photon Overcharge is used to help out a little bit. Probes being pulled too. ShaDoWn is only down 10, no, not even now, down 4 army supplies, so it looks like he is able to hold. That was awkward at 2 different parts for both parties. Oh yeah, definitely will do that. But 10 probes did go down, giving Bale's the lead here, definitely in the economy. As he continues to set up this kind of like light contain right now, he could also maybe think about 4th base or tech. He's adding on his own Archons. The recent development of PvP, because at one point it really was just like Blink Stalker Immortal, maybe a couple people were doing Charge Lot Archon, but the recent development of going for a lot more Adepts is cool and all, but sometimes when they shade each other, it just looks really silly, not gonna lie. Just looks a little weird. But there's the Forge, so he's gonna get an upgrade lead. Upgrades, you know, a little bit stylistic. I know like Hearthstone loves going for earlier upgrades, but it seems like a lot of other Protosses are really holding off on their upgrades. But the Adept Shades all to scout, you know, each other's army, and that's fine. Just never accidentally let them complete the shade in. Because those Archons are actually going to provide quite a lot of splash damage to what is a bunch of clumped up units from ShaDoWn. Now, Bale's, he doesn't want to throw away what he thinks is a lead. And what is a lead, actually? Look at the numbers. So he's going to be a little careful about this. Going to pull back. And does get a 4th base as well as the technology I mentioned. Adepts tried to do some damage, but only 2 more probes went down. And ShaDoWn's just not getting enough done with these. But now ShaDoWn's like, oh, okay. I guess the army left. Maybe I can get my own 4th base. And the Warp Prism's going to try and get something more done with more Adepts. Finally see a Robotics Bay on the way for Bale's. Will ShaDoWn match that, or continue on with his just Gateway army units, really? A couple of Immortals have joined his army, but yeah, mostly Gateway. He's gonna try and pressure Bale's, but he still doesn't have that great of an army supply. He does catch the army, like, the tiniest bit out of position, I suppose. That little, like, whatever this is. Maybe it complicates it a little bit, but nah, he's not gonna take a fight. Soon enough, Bale's will have the upgrade lead, and he will have, I'm gonna guess, Disruptors to add in here. And with Disruptors, oh my god, he thought the Archon splash and those Adepts as they clump up is going to be good. Wait till you see the Disruptors get a hit on them, and it is going to be a second Robo as well, as his economy can afford it. They're both almost maxed out, although again, Bale's with an upgrade lead. But that still is going to be like more about positioning. ShaDoWn's really going to be looking for a time where Bale's is out of position. Bale's just looking to secure his 4 bases, which he's really done at this point. And he's probably going to be looking for his own good fight too. And okay, ShaDoWn is paying attention. He has to back up. Storm is on the way. This is an interesting addition, along with like the resurgence of like a mass Adepts in PvP. It seems like Storm is making a comeback as well. When you consider how many Adepts are in the army, and they actually like enough Storms will kill anything, right? Like Storms could even be effective against mech, but it's usually like you see him for like Storm drops, or just maybe as like a miscellaneous type upgrade if the game really goes that long. But it seems like lately there's been a lot more Protoss players reaching for that Storm quicker. Now Bale's has an upgrade lead right now, and he'll have one for quite some time, but ShaDoWn's trying to get away with a double Forge here, which he might just be able to. I mean, they're both close to maxed out, and it really is a point of just like using your bank and hopefully not taking a terrible engagement that you can't reinforce fast enough. But Bale's is about to be sandwiched, or alternatively, he's about to find half of the army without the other half, and oh god, that didn't really work out for ShaDoWn at all. He'll find a couple of the more vulnerable units, like the Immortal Sentries and that one Disruptor in the backside. The Sentries use their force fields, and luckily the Archons are there to break it, but oh, awkward, Disruptor's awkward. Oh my god, I can't believe that Disruptor got the shot off! Storms are coming down, and there are, if there was like 7 of them, like, oh my god, that's amazing, but there was only 2. More interceptors getting rallied in for Bales here, and Bales takes the win. GG. Pretty good PvP. I was saying, I liked ShaDoWn's position. I liked his aggression with expansion. But when it came down to the actual engagements, Bales looked a little bit better. But really, it was those adepts that didn't do any harassments, yet was a, you know, very expensive warp-in. That really, I think, started the snowball effects in favor of Bales. But that was on the American server. So now we're going to go to EU. Next map, I do know that. I think it was King ShaDoWn, wasn't it? Yep, King ShaDoWn is the second map. Try and get that set up as fast as possible. A reminder, I guess, of the score, as you can see right here. The overall score of this best of 5 is in favor of France right now, but Bales is looking strong in the PvP and is looking to tie it up yet again. Should it go to the ace match, that is just a best of 1. I'm not sure who that'd be between. If you're actually watching the overlay, you see the scrolling text bringing up BaseTradeTV, our website, which I haven't really shut out in a while because I think everyone knows that it's available. Oh, apparently O Gaming's doing a marathon. I wondered why they were doing the Showmatch. Kind of seemed like, okay, well, I guess they want to do something cool and showcase the up-and-coming talent, but I think it's also because they wanted to have some more content for their 24-hour marathon, which is cool news. I guess I might host them afterwards then. Be a bro. But anyways, let's talk about the website. I just brought it up because, of course, that does have the calendar, which we've been a little more attentive to keeping up to date as we get these last-minute things going on. And we've been doing a decent job of, I suppose. So don't blame Oli Moly, despite what the bot says. But tomorrow is going to be the Corsair Cup again. Fearjack will be joining me for that. And then after that, the Alima League early Tuesday morning. And then after that, maybe another something that still is yet to be announced. So hold off on that. And then after that, while I go to DreamHack Montreal to actually attend as a visitor, as a spectator, that's the word, Fear Dragon and maybe Rifkin will be bringing you the second stream coverage for that, which is pretty cool. Official second stream hype. But that'll be this weekend. Right, never about the future. Here now, in the top left, he is down 1. It is the red Protoss ShaDoWn. ShaDoWn. I think ShaDoWn sounds cooler. In the bottom right, as the blue Protoss, he is Flipside Tactics Bales. ShaDoWn for Vue Blanche, I believe, is how you say it? French, quite. Maybe I should have brushed up on my French that I learned 5 years ago. I think it was my last French class. First semester of college was my last French class. Maybe I should have brushed up on that before I went to Montreal. But you know what? Everyone should speak English anyways. Am I right? High five, USA. I high five myself. And that is, of course, who Bales is playing for and hoping to bring back the score to an even 1 at 2-2. And he's doing a good job so far. Already up 1-0. I just want to make it clear, I'm actually not in favor of being everyone should speak English. I think variety of languages and learning languages is a really cool experience. And learning about culture through language is really cool. And there's so much scientific studies about how it helps you and your brain and whatnot. So, just to be clear, I'm not that type of American. Just to be clear. Anyway, faster Nexus again for ShaDoWn. Bale is going to be opening up with Stalkers. I think he opened up with Depths last time. Eventually he got a Depths anyways, so if it wasn't the first 2 things from the Gateway, it was the second 2 things from the Gateway. But Bales was surely behind the Nexus. Really wasn't that far back, and it's kind of looking like the same thing's going to happen here. No, Stalkers and more Stalkers. He could apply a lot of pressure. We've actually seen a couple of games end with this very... It's light pressure, 2 gateways doesn't sound like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, but it does come so quickly that occasionally, for instance, if the pylon is not in an ideal position, this one should be an obvious position, but you'll be surprised. The Protoss actually, defending Protoss actually loses, and it's actually like, really? That just happened? And it can be wonky, but it happens. Especially if the, you know, attacking Protoss player puts a pylon down, even slow warp-ins can snowball. But Bales is not moving across the map. In fact, it looks like he was looking for Adepts. Or probe or something. Because I guess alternatively he hasn't scouted his opponent. He doesn't know if he's not doing the same thing. And if you catch the pylon making probe early enough, then that kind of just nips the aggression right in the bud. But that doesn't mean that Bales just has to kind of live with a slower Nexus. But he did last game, and he did fine. It's not the end of the world. And Twilight Council, Robo, usual stuff for PvP. I feel like this weekend, or these past, like, what, 4 days, has really just been... Yeah, poor Fear Dragon. He probably would have liked to cast all of this. We had the show matches with all those NA bros on Thursday night, and then you had an awesome tank series Saturday and Sunday. And now you have a beautiful PvP going down, and he's just stuck in an airport. Ace retweet. I mean, Ace RT. It's basically Ace retweet. Adepts come in here. I feel like maybe I'm misremembering who had the Adepts last game, and that's totally possible, but I could have sworn it was Bales who was trying to get a bit of scouting done with early Adepts. But I think they also changed color on me. Doesn't help. War Prism's on the way for Bales. And it's actually, it really is it's definitely a flip of the last game, right? Like, I'm not crazy here. Last game, ShaDoWn was the one with a faster Warp Prism, and it was Bales, you know, defending against the attack and the harassment whilst getting up his immortal count, and now it's flipped. It's Bales doing the aggression. Hallucinated Phoenix, kind of odd to see so early on in the game. I consider that's a significant amount from a Sentry's energy. But it is a point where, like, they both went for naturals, that there shouldn't be that much of a committed attack on the way, and one Force Field hopefully won't kill you. Or 2 Force Fields, and 2 Hallucinated Phoenix. The Warp Prism stops short of that natural. ShaDoWn does have units in the natural, so it wouldn't really be worth it for it to go there. He sees it and doesn't do anything. Ooh, Resonating Glaives instead of Blink. Ooh, oh, son of a bitch, it's not changed in the protection tab. I swear to God, Blizzard. I swear to... Okay. Oh, third base at exactly the same time. Thinking the same thing. They really are thinking the same thing. Besides I guess the Warp Prism versus the Immortals, both getting the Resonating Glaives around the same time and both getting that third base around the same time. Here's the biggest difference, I think, is ShaDoWn going a lot quicker for their Robotics Bay. Looking a lot faster into those Disruptors. Bale's not looking towards that at all quite yet. Hallucinated Phoenix, I mean, they've been constantly scouting each other. I don't think there's, like, too many surprises that Bales has to hide, but it's always better to limit information from your opponent. Actually, more about ShaDoWn limiting the vision of this in the back base that he's been doing a good job of so far. Much faster upgrade for him, too. As I was talking about Hearthstone earlier on, like, Hearthstone always seems to get this Forge fairly early on. Oh, it's Colossus. This Forge fairly early on. And it just really seems to be a style thing, but a lot of other Protosses seem to really just push it far back and beyond. But +1 with Colossus. Interesting stuff. I mean, Colossus have had their moments. They have had their anti-Liberator moments on Dusk Towers, and then they kind of disappeared. And then they came back as Protosses realized that, in general, Terrans are having trouble against Colossus builds, and sometimes they look almost, you know, too strong. Done correctly, of course, and I'm actually not saying that Colossus is overpowered, but sometimes versus Terran it can be difficult. And they're coming back a little bit in PvP, as we see here. This is the first time we've seen a Colossus added on. It is more of like a surprise factor when it comes to they are going for Colossus, like that the build is leading up to Colossus. To see a Colossus in addition to an army like that already has Disruptors and Immortals and stuff, that's like, oh, okay, I guess that's an interesting unit to add on for consistent damage. Okay, I can see that logic, but to actually go for Colossus is very hard to swarm. And Bale's, you know, not going for Colossus, clearly, but going for much quicker Archons. I guess they both got Templar Archives around the same time. The difference is that Bale's has the gas to afford it? Oh, okay. ShaDoWn adding on his own Archons now. What has Bale scouted, by the way? Talked about it about 2 minutes ago. Nope, still hasn't seen the robotics bay. Pretty sure still hasn't seen the army. What the? Oh, is this right there? Oh, you know, he might have. I might have missed it. But the answer, the question is, of course, like, what do you do against this army? It's not like you're Zerg player, like, oh shit, like I have to build a Spire, or, you know, Terrans like build Vikings. It's you're not gonna get the Tempest that quickly. So it is about finding a good concave, I think, ideally here, you know, on top of a ramp, or just in general right here, or something like that. He does definitely see the army now, in the cool Colossus skin, right? Tries that on his own robotics bay and second robo, but is definitely falling behind the Colossus counts. Gonna buy some time breaking down the rock, so Shade shouldn't go through. Didn't think so. ShaDoWn is a little scary with his tower and Colossus, gotta say. He's up almost 20 army supply. He has an upgrade lead for a while longer. And he is gonna find a position that is a choke. So Bale's, you know, maybe ShaDoWn can't push up into the natural, but Bale's really can't get rid of the army either. And I think less so about the choke and just in general Bale's not being in position. That Nexus would have really screwed him over if he tried to take an engagement. So he's going to try and come in from behind. But now the choke is going to be working against him. The ramp's going to be working against him. And I'm not sure this is really going to look. This is just turned really awkward really quickly. Despite knowing the army was out in the middle of the map, he just didn't think that it was going to come from this way. Adepts do shade forward, so it's kind of a surround going down. The War Prism Micro, though, oh, is pretty damn good, and Bale just loses the entire army. Oof. ShaDoWn taking it back for Team France, ties it up 1-1, and if he wins this next match, then France wins the entire best of 5. That remains to be seen. We're going to go back to the North American server, and we're going to take a quick break before then, so see you guys in 2 minutes. Thanks for watching those ads. We're back, and it is going to be Frozen Temple as the last map, and potentially last map of the series entirely, not just this best of 3. Let's get in the game. Oh, that turned awkward really quickly, you know, and that's happened before in all different matchups on that map because of those back rocks. It really should be a case where, like, where's the army? Oh, it must be going back to my back rocks. That's usually the line of thinking that goes down, but there are definitely situations where you get a little television on one thing or the other. Maybe you even think that if they go to the back rocks, that'll favor you, but I don't know. Bale's definitely, I think, was caught off guard and tried to make the best out of a bad situation. There's only so much you can do. The Adept transfer was kind of a cool maneuver, but yeah. It is what it is, and it is tied up. The bottom right for France. He is the teal Protoss ShaDoWn. And the top left, the pretty early probe scout. It is the red Protoss Bale's Team USA. People saying that they have a no rush agreement. You know, it's really funny. I actually like PvP quite a bit. I always have, actually, not just because Legacy of the Void improved for us or anything like that, which I think it did. Neither here nor there. I've always liked PvP. When it was 4-gate versus 4-gate, I thought the micro battles were amazing. When it was even build order wins and cheese, I thought it was really fun. Even if it was silly, it was fun because it was silly. And Legacy of the Void, I like the complications and the decision making that goes between the compositions and the builds and all that. I think it's fascinating. But there is one thing that we saw when we were casting something about PvP back in the Yord Civil War tournament, and that occasionally, often enough, not rare at all, like 30% of the games, yeah, they just wouldn't attack each other. And I don't know if it's a thing about just like the scouting ends up being, you know, so good with the Adept Shades and Hallucinated Phoenix and whatever, that they just realize they can't do anything, or they want to play a macro game, they want to showcase the later game PvP where they're a little more confident. I actually don't know, but it would happen often enough that it's like, okay, I guess this just can happen. You know, in TVT, that rarely happens. That's like 5% of TVT games where they both agree to go to 3 bases and not do anything. Because more often, it starts off with a 1 base build, right? ZVZ, you've ever seen a 3, like, no rush 10-minute TVZ. But PvP can occasionally happen. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's like, you know, I know exactly what she's gonna do, therefore I have the upper advantage. Like, I don't know. But it does. So this is what I was talking about in the first game, I believe. This slow pylon warp-in is, it seems almost useless, you know, with how drastic, or well, I guess it's not gonna be slow, is it? Well, okay, the gateway really changes things up, but even if it was only slow warp-ins, you know, compared to Heart of the Swarm, it is like, why would you even bother? But it is useful sometimes, and it can snowball. But adding on the gateway means that it's going to be fast warp-ins, and of course, one more gateway to be aggressive with, while Balos is gonna just try and, of course, go for a bit faster Nexus, and just have to defend against this. Because Bales didn't really get the greatest scout in the world, or rather the continued scouts. He got a pretty good scout, because you always do with the probes so early on, but the problem is that he doesn't have continued scouting, so he didn't see the 4 stalkers moving across the map. He didn't go around and check and see a probe put a pylon down. So that initial engagement was pretty important. The fact that his stalker already took so much damage when it's so few units in the early game is important. It's a good thing he paid attention to his army when he did, and was able to pull back before losing anything. And it's also important that he was able to keep this pylon alive and not burn a photon overcharge yet. That was actually a really good force field right there. He doesn't lose a stalker, might lose a sentry with the that sucks. But the overcharge, oh no, the overcharge should have been immediate. That pylon gets really, really low, only gets like 2 shots off. And that's exactly what Bales is trying to avoid have happen. One pylon properly protected and instantly overcharged can defend a lot of stuff. But 6 stalkers, 7 stalkers attacking onto it does cut its health down quite a bit, and ShaDoWn's gonna go ahead. I mean, he got his Nexus, you know, this wasn't like complete all-in here. You know, it's almost done too, so this is just him getting a lead and soft-containing Bales. Nexus goes down, and there's not much that Bales could have done. Once the sentries come in, but even without the sentries, he just was outnumbered. Couldn't get down that ramp. Now, the question is, what does he do to repair these damages? He's got a Robo on the way. He could get a Warp Prism to try and send some Adepts over across the map, and that's fine. He could also get a Warp Prism just to elevate his units down and attack. Could get Immortals, I suppose, as well, but he's got to deal with the Sentry Force Field somehow, and that's going to be where Blink comes in, ideally. Blink comboed with Immortals, dropped on the low ground. Like, this is breakable, but it's about how long does ShaDoWn keep this soft contain? That's actually kind of a hard contain right now. And how much does he get off the back of it too? Because he did sacrifice a bit for it. I definitely think his build was worth it, clearly, but it is a case of like, if he was immediately pushed away, and he's the one pulling back pretty quickly, that might be a problem. Oh, and Deb's not in there. I was like, what the hell? Bales will have the tech advantage in Blink, but ShaDoWn's about to have an Immortal. Blink is almost done. You could try and get the sentries. No, it's Listening Phoenix. Oh, don't chase that. That's not worth it. That's not worth it at all. If he was able to blink forward and get the sentries, 2 force fields can be a huge deal. Guardian Shield can be a huge, huge deal, and unfortunately he's not going to get that chance with a Photon Overcharge and equal, or better army supply, excuse me, for ShaDoWn. Bales is not going to do very much here. Does target fire the sentry with the energy, and that's cool, because he didn't lose any stalkers for it. But you know, now he has to do something to make up for his much later Nexus. Being completely scouted out doesn't help. You know, you can at least hope that they're really afraid of a Dark Shrine coming through. Sorry, goes on. Not so much anymore. And ShaDoWn, I think, just has a straight up lead. Still has a proxy pylon too. Blink is helpful. Blink is micro. Blink is target firing and retreating, and that's great, but I feel like if ShaDoWn really wanted to push the issue, he could just bully the Blink Stalkers back, especially with the second Immortal. Did he get it? There it is. But he's not. He goes for the third base. He's extended his lead in a macro sense. Not going to try and end the game right here, right now. And Bales is probably going to be thankful for that. Because, you know, time is something that he can work with. Direct army engagements with this army supply is something he cannot really work with. I like the hidden Dark Shrine, by the way. It's funny, because I think after a certain point, ShaDoWn would just give up on thinking there's going to be a Dark Shrine at all, and just be like, oh, I guess he's not going for one, and he probably would stop scouting, but just in case he continued scouting, hide that Dark Shrine. you losing a couple units here and there. Bales is starting to bridge that gap a little bit with the army supply. And he does have his Nexus up and running, and that's great and everything, but he has been an economic loss for some time. Being very bold with the Stalkers. As long as they live, you know, more power to them for the micro here, but they're not getting too much done. War Prism of ShaDoWn could get a couple of Adepts in. And, you know, could also combo it with like a Warp in here too, but let me pay a lot more attention to what Bales can do with his Dark Shrine and his Warp Prism. What does ShaDoWn have for defenses? No cannons. I think I have the Forge, right? Yeah, not even a Forge. Observers aren't going to be, you know, placed around the map quite yet. And he does only just now get one. Oh no, oh no, oh, okay, never mind. I thought Phoenix is actually going to check the corners of the map, which wouldn't be, like, that surprising, but would be very lucky for him. Gateway finally cleaned up. DTs are going into that main base. Unfortunately, it's like, how much can they really do? Well, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. No, I think they do a lot, actually. That army's entirely out of position now. There's only one observer. He's going to probably be cranking up more morals that have more observers. And these DTs, one in the third base, one in the main base, could get a lot of probes. And defensive DTs also, if he's able to snipe his opponent's observer with his own, that would be... Well, that would just be about how Bales wins this game. But without any of that going down, he is at a severe army disadvantage. One DT is unloaded in the main base. I think the other one should have gone to the third base, but... What can he do to defend? A depth shade in. He's got a couple of potent overcharges. A defensive DT comes in here. I thought the observer was with the army. Oh my god, no, it's not. Oh my god. Oh, well, okay. Oh, I thought it was with the army, but either way, the point is only one observer means something is going to go wrong here, and a DT is trying to help out so much with this army fight. More DTs are warped in too. Despite having his observer back at home, there's still so many probes going down, so actually, everything just went really well for Bales. He did lose his third Nexus, but ShaDoWn, I don't think, realized, A, that DTs were attacking his probe. That took him a while to realize, and B, that DTs were attacking his main army. So he just lost so much, and I think he just lost the game. DT's good units. DT's such a good unit. He's lost 30 probes. He's still losing them. I mean, he's got 2 observers now, but he's still losing probes. This is game. Oh my god, it's so totally done. It's not even just that, like, it's done. It's like ShaDoWn also is just like, I can't, shit, like, and he's, like, seriously having trouble deciding on what to take care of first. I think he was like, maybe I should just all in? No, I should retreat. And then he just got stuck. So then he recalled to his natural. Now he's attacking his own building because the Adepts are trapped in there. Like, oh my god, this went so south. Game-wise, as well as, I think, ShaDoWn just mental confidence wise. Oh wow, DT's good unit. Well, Bales definitely has this now, unless ShaDoWn can do the same thing with his own set of DTs. Oh god. Getting all his structures repowered too. Those DTs did a hell of a lot of damage. He's gonna lose a gateway and his Adepts back out. Bales doesn't have an overwhelming army supply to be like, why aren't you just winning right now, man? But he does have a good position for sure. No, there's two observers right there. Okay, it gets three probes and attacks the Nexus. You can just tell ShaDoWn's like, oh shit, like he is messing up all over the place. But he's gonna stick with it as long as possible. Bales, all I need to do is, you know, get this third base up. It's finally finished. It's saturated. And get his army up to that type of army that's just going to roll over ShaDoWn's, and that's going to be game. ShaDoWn is bridging the probe gap here, and I wish I had the income graphs to see how much he is bridging the income difference, but that was a lot of damage. And now Bales has a bit of a tech advantage in disruptors, so yeah, here comes the march. Was missing on his own Templar Archives, but that's where DT's concerned. Archons looks really snazzy, so Archons match Archons, a lot more depths for Bales, and just that Disruptor could get such a beautiful hit. 2 Disruptors now could get really, really good hits. ShaDoWn only just now getting up to his own Robotics Bay. There's really not much he can do. He has to constantly be trying to avoid the Disruptor shots. One hits an Archon, takes a good chunk of the shields away. About a 30 army supply lead for Bales here. And instant reinforcements too with that War Prism. There's not much else going on for ShaDoWn. This is just a single, this is an Observer. It's not useful at all. Guardian Shield is popped for him, not yet for ShaDoWn. That's definitely missing with that 1 sentry. Being very, very hesitant. I don't think he has to be, but he does not want to lose this game. He knows he got a bit lucky with how he won the game, so... More weapons coming in just to depths for now. Another Disruptor being rallied across the map. A little dangerous, but working out fine. As ShaDoWn's just entirely focused on this base. Disruptor hits! Gets the sentry. More Disruptors left, though, and ShaDoWn can't bulk up. Tries to split. There's an Immortal and a handful of Adepts. Loses the other Mortal? Not quite. But Bales, your army is big enough. Just go for the gold, man. You got this. 1 Disruptor. Come on, Disruptor. Try and get that hit. Come on. Oh, he kills his own probes. Well, either way, we saw a good Disruptor hit. GG! Bales takes it to 1. And we'll tie it all up. 2-2. USA. But alright, what does that mean for the finals? Who is playing? They did vetoes in the Skype chat, so it's really hard for me to go check. But what I remember reading is that it's going to be a best of 1, and the server decision is going to come down to a coin flip. So I'll figure out what's going on. It's probably going to be another extended break, but I'll come back as soon as I know more. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the games. Going to the ace match after this break. Wrong thing. There you go.